Hey, howdy and happy day. I want to talk about two things today, democracy and budget. Kind of two big words that you hear all of the time wherever you are. Doesn't matter what country you're in, we're always talking about budgets and democracy, particularly from the left. Democracy, it's being jeopardized, we're going to lose it, and budgets, and we're going to bounce the budget, and so on. So I wanted to kind of dig into this a little bit. Now, we get watched by people all around the world. A lot of people from England, Great Britain, and particularly the United States of America. I get it, but today, as an example country, I'm going to use Canada, and I think that's pretty easy to pull from that and adapt kind of the ways and the thinking to your nation, right? So you got to work with me on that. Democracy, it's a noun, right? Definition of democracy is government by the people. It's the rule of the majority, and that's what all of the people think all of the time, right? It's a system that's exercised indirectly through this system of representation by people that are elected. And again, in Canada, they're supposed to then do what you want them to do with regard to your riding. There's 300 and some odd ridings, okay? But of course that ain't true, but because when they get into the House of Parliament, they're not allowed to speak or do anything unless the leader approves it. And that's just a matter of fact. And I've spoken to many members of Parliament in Canada and representatives too in other nations, and it's always the same. I can't speak against my leader. So in other words, he's a puppet, and really effectively it's a dictatorship in Canada. But again, I want to kind of drill down a little bit more on this. Democracy, it's a form of government to which the people have the authority apparently to choose governing officials to legislate ideas and concepts and do things that the people want. And again, I've covered that because the people don't want most of the things that are done because the leader comes in and says, hey, I want to do this. And you have to vote with me or I will remove you from caucus. I will kick you out of caucus. And so, of course, the people really don't have anything to say about it. Cornerstones of democracy include freedom of assembly, association, property rights, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, equality of voting rights, governmental deprivation of the right of freedom from that, of the right to life and liberty. And those are all the things, particularly with the lockdowns the last couple of years, that have been removed. But in Canada, they don't have them anyway. You can't even defend yourself with a slingshot or a spoon, and it's against the law to defend yourself with a tool of any kind. But those things are all part of democracy, right? So basically, what is democracy? It's become liberal democracy in Canada and again, so many other places, because that's what it is. Liberalism is about you can have a choice, you can have an opinion, as long as I agree with all of those things, okay? And that's what it's all about. Now think about a democracy in its craziest sense. Majority vote, right? So you get a bunch of liberals, the prime mistake in Canada, you get him and his cronies, it's kind of like Hitler. You get Hitler and his group in the room and then have a vote. And guess what? They all vote according to what Hitler wanted, according to what, in his case, if it didn't, boomity boom, see ya. But certainly with Trudeau's case, in Trudeau's case also, because that's a democracy. I mean, you put 10 of him and his goons into a room and ask them to vote. They all vote the same way. So that is considered a democracy. It's a liberal democracy. And that, of course, is wrong. And these same people then create budgets. What's a budget? Well, a budget is an estimation of revenue and expenses over a certain period of time, right? Keeping track of how much you earn and how much you spend is kind of an important deal, particularly if you're running a nation. You got to know where the money goes and have control over your finances, okay? I mean, that's kind of simple stuff. A surplus budget, balanced budget, and a deficit budget. That's the wordage for how you do. Well, let's analyze a budget. What is a budget? Well, if I'm young and I'm going to a movie and I know the movie's going to cost me with a girlfriend and a car and food, I know it's going to cost me $50. So I go to my parents and say, hey, Pop, I'm going to the movie, it's going to cost $100. Oh, $100, that's so much. I say, oh, hey, inflation and all that work with me. So it gives me $100 and I go out and I have a great time. I come home and say I spent it. It's a balanced budget. I needed more. It's deficit budget. Or hey, I only spent 50 and here's 50 back. I got a surplus, right? It's all about the budget. Because me, being so crafty, I wanted to have him happy when I got home. I wanted to say, look at this, I got a surplus for you because I'm such a genius. And that's what's going on with governments again, particularly in Canada. They do it all the time. So you're spending money like a crazy person, and that's what the present administration does. They give money away what they get spent. They have no control over anything that they do. And while they're spending your money and creating inflation, they also, of course, bring in all of this democracy stuff, backwards democracy, liberal democracy. They take away all of your rights. So it's kind of a mixed bag here. I mean, when you stir it all up, mixed pot, what do? I mean, everybody's cheese is off the cracker here, it looks like, in terms of all the people that create the budgets and use that wordage democracy, because it's used and practiced improperly in most cases. So we do want a democracy and we do want good budgets. So, which of course means that you all have to have good government to have those other good things. Keep that in mind when you vote, and go out and tell everybody, vote right. The little left-wing wackos shouldn't be allowed to walk around with us. Hey. There you go. That's the layperson's definition of the two things that we hear so much about all of the time, democracy and budget. Have a good day.